right, Apu, Lucas, thank you so much for the time today. I wanted to learn more about the CITYDASH people intelligence platform that you built. Very interested to hear about how this could be applied to situations, especially with COVID-19. You know, how cities or states could leverage the capabilities, and in fact, if the platform has been used in those situations, you know, how it's been used, et cetera. I think the other thing that would be helpful too is just to learn more about where the data comes from as well. So with that, let me turn it over to you guys to just, you know, take us through the platform.
Great, thanks a lot. I can give you a quick introduction to CITYDASH, and I have a slide deck open here which I can walk us through. And after we're done with that, we can switch to a live demo of CITYDASH with some live data, fresh data from US cities and metro areas.
Okay, great.
So CITYDASH is an online platform that essentially captures people intelligence. And we define people intelligence as a combination of three things. That's people presence, people activity, and people movement. So we are looking at these three attributes for every block, every census block, and every neighborhood in every city and town across the US. But over time, over the past year, we also started collecting such data on an international scale. And given the current situation with the coronavirus, COVID-19, and the urgency in some countries like Italy, we decided to focus on the data we are collecting in those countries. So before I jump into the exact work being done, let me just give you an overview of where this data is coming from. So we are collecting anonymized, crowdsourced mobile data from many different mobile devices. This is being done with consumer consent and opt-in. And the data comes in currently from over 60 countries. It streams into our cloud. It goes through an extensive process of cleansing, deduping, structuring, and then we publish these anonymized data sets. We are a GovTech company, as in a company that focuses exclusively on government technology and providing solutions to governments, both at the local level as well as at the state and federal levels. And the data sets that we publish are now available for over 1,450 cities at a global scale. Once this data is in our cloud, we then try and make sense from it. So it goes through a massive compute, and the results are people presence, people activity, and people movement within cities. So at the local level, we are able to tell you the number of people in terms of percentages that might be moving across neighborhoods within any city. We can also do this at the national level. So if you want to know the number of people that may have moved from the Seattle area to Washington, D.C., or the percentage of people that moved from Seattle to San Francisco or New York, we would be able to give you those numbers or those movement patterns.
And those movement patterns, by the way, can you put a time? Is it like within a day? Is it within the same day itself? Within a week? Can you change those different time parameters?
Absolutely. So by default, we do this on a weekly scale. Most of the cities that we work with, for a variety of reasons, and the use cases range from economic development to urban planning to mobility and transportation, they are very happy with a week scale in terms of people presence and movement data. But given the situation we are in now, we are able to do this on a daily basis. So we can give you daily patterns for movement. And if you need it, we can stay with weekly. We can do this on a month scale as well. And in addition to local and national, we can also do international. So if there's a need for knowing the number of people that might be moving from Italy to the surrounding countries, or from the surrounding countries into Italy, that is possible to do. And in the case of Italy, now the borders are closed. So that is not relevant anymore, but there are many other countries where the borders are still open. And if you want to know movement across international borders, we can give you a percentage in terms of how many people may have moved from Mexico to the US, for example, or from the south of Mexico into Mexico.
And this is only basically neighboring countries, or can you also do, for example, like UK to the US?
This can be done between any groups of countries, any pairs of countries, or any groups of countries. So if you wanted to do UK to the US, or you wanted to do Southeast Asia to the US, Singapore to the US. So we could give you a percentage of people from any given country, anywhere in the world that we may have seen in the US. And therefore, it indicates that there may have been a movement between these two countries.
Okay, thank you.
The actual Italy use case. So there are two things that are happening here. One is the country's in lockdown. We are looking at the number of cases that they are confirming on a daily basis. The correlated map that you see here indicates, the colors indicate the density of cases. So you have over like 6,000, 7,000 cases in the deep red areas to the north of Italy. And then the case density reduces as you go to the middle and the south of the country. Now, the north of the country is essentially the Milan area and then a little bit of the Venice area. And we are looking at the movement patterns between those cities and the rest of the country. So, for example, there's a 3% movement between Milan and Rome. And there's about a 4+ to around 6% movement between Milan and the Venice areas. And so we are able to indicate the movement of people between different regions, between different cities in Italy, or any country for that matter. And if you overlay that with the number of known COVID cases, that gives you a sense for the propagation of the virus. And it also gives you a sense for where you might want to be prepared next and what might be the cases that you might see next in different parts of your country. Now, from the national scale, you can zoom into the city scale. So now you're looking at the city of Rome in Italy, and the different shapes on the map now represent the blocks or neighborhoods as defined by the Italian census. The colors indicate the density of people. So for any block, any neighborhood within Rome, we are able to tell you the number of people that we've seen within that shape. So this little shape down here had 306 people. We can give you an actual heat map for the number of people that we've seen there. We can tell you the trend by the hour of day. So you get a day parted statistic. We also give you the trend by day of week. And then we can give you the people movement analysis as well. So going deeper into this at the micro level, let's zoom in some more. So now you're looking at a university in Rome. And here we are seeing 1,031 people. And we can give you the trend again by hour of day and by day of week. And you can also see the heat map. So the red and blue colors on the map, the bright reds and blues indicate an actual heat map of the GPS data points that we've seen within that area. And you can do this for every block, every neighborhood. As we go into the live demo, you'll notice that every block around this university, we could literally click on each of these blocks and request an instant heat map. And you can actually see the device signals that we are capturing in those areas. Our data sets are never going to be 100%. And I don't believe any data set on the planet is ever going to be 100%. Even the telcos are probably going to come in at 30, 40, 50, 60% of the data. What we are observing in most countries is anywhere from 20 to 45, 50% of the data. Regardless, the numbers are high enough that they are very representative of what's actually happening on the ground. And then if you go deeper and you ask for a movement analysis, this is done for the center of Rome. You could then say, give me a dispersion or movement analysis for the center of Rome, and then the tool produces connections between that part of the city and all the other blocks in terms of overlap of people. So the people that we saw in the center of the city, where else did we see them in a 24-hour window or a 7-day window? We can produce that analysis for you directly within CityDash, which gives you an instant feel for the movement of people. If you know that the center of Rome had high number of COVID cases, for example, you now have a sense for what other neighborhoods these people may have been seen in, and therefore you might want to monitor going forward. Now, in addition to the presence and movement of people and the heat maps of mobile signals, we can also monitor the presence of people and the movement for individual places, brands, or businesses. So if you're looking at a commercial district or a shopping mall, and you want to see the number of people that may have been present there in the past 7 days or in the past 24 hours, and then where else they may have moved out, that is very easy for us to do. So I'm just going to pause there and hand it back to you if you have any questions. And if not, we can jump into an actual demo.
Yeah, let's take a look at the demo.
Okay, so this is CityDash. CityDash.ai is the website. It's powered by LOTaDATA. And I'm going to click on the dashboard link on the top right. When I do so, it brings up the big table of cities. This is almost 1,450 cities loaded up in my list here. And you can search for cities in Italy. So these are all the cities in Italy that we are currently tracking. Or you could do a homeland search. So in this case, let's go to a city where we know there were a high number of COVID cases. Here's Seattle. This is the greater Seattle metro area. I believe what you're looking at here is a total of 5 or 6 counties, but it is much larger than actual Seattle city. The shapes on the map are the actual block groups. So this is the US Census defined block groups, and the colors indicate the density of people within each block. And now if I were to select a block right here and zoom in, CityDash gives you quick insights about the area you're looking at. So it's about 1.7 square kilometers. How many people did we see here? About 58,000 people. And you can request a heat map, and that will show you the actual dots on the map that we've seen from GPS data, anonymized data. We can see the trend by the hour of day. You can see the trend by the day of week. And then you can ask for movement analysis. So when you do so, and I'm going to close this pop-up and zoom out, so you can start to see all the different blocks in the city that are connecting back to the red block. And if that's too much color, you can clear out the colors on the map, and now you can start to see the actual neighborhoods that are connecting back to that red block in the middle. I think by default, we show you, let me confirm this, 20 connections, but you can increase that to, let's say, 40, 50 connections if you like.
And this is basically the percentage of people that were in that group. Where do they go afterwards?
Yeah, so this is essentially cohort analysis. So we are showing you the cohort of people that were seen in that red block in the middle. We are showing you all the different places within the city where we also saw the same people. And this can be done within a 24-hour window, or we can increase that to a 7-day window for you. So let's go to Kirkland here and pick a block in Kirkland, Washington. There were 30,000 people in this block here. You can request your heat map. That's what that heat map looks like. And then you can request a movement analysis for it. And that's what that looks like. So this can be repeated for every block, every neighborhood in pretty much every city. So that was Greater Seattle.
And a question for you on, when we're looking at Seattle, we got down to the census block group level, as you mentioned.
Yes.
When you showed Italy, we got to the university. Was that their equivalent of a block group level, that university, or can you get even deeper on this than the census block level?
Oh, you can go as deep as you like. So as we zoom in, let me show you an example of this. So I'm just going to zoom all the way in here. So let's look at Loyal Heights here, right? So you can zoom down to this block here, which is a relatively small block. That's 0.3 square kilometers. And you can, you can request a heat map for it. You could also, if you want, define your own shape. So let's say you know that this area here is of high interest to you based on some data that you already have. That could be a senior care center, or it could be something else that you know about. You can define your own polygons on the map. It's about a little more than 10,000 square meters. And there were 571 people in that shape. And you can request a movement analysis for that shape. You can also go into places, since you drew that shape on the map, and that's the polygon that you just drew. You can edit that and call it a COVID high interest polygon. Give it a number, save it. And now you have your custom shapes or custom places shapes saved on the map, and you can request daily or weekly analysis for it. Let me just pause there and hand it back to you.
No, I think that that makes sense. And so you could then create these polygons. If you know there's a high risk area, you could see where people are going once you've identified that high risk area, and then you could see, hey, they're going to this area or that area. And that could be useful if you wanted to potentially quarantine those zones or actually go do some on the ground type of investigation in those zones as well.
Yes, absolutely. So where they may have been, so this is still slightly historical, you have a 24-hour lag. And so you are looking at data from the previous 24 hours.
Okay. It's great. It's amazing impact that you can provide from a tool like this one. So, Apu, I appreciate you taking the time, Apu and Lucas taking the time to walk me through this. And I'm sure I'll be in contact, very soon around, where this could potentially be leveraged.
That sounds great. We are very eager to help. This is a critical time for all of us, not just in the US, but across the globe. And anything we can do to save lives, we'd be jumping all over it.
I agree. Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.